Good day. Greetings. I hope you're well. Odessa here, Doctorate of Natural Medicine and Wellness Coach. Today, I wanted to talk with you about um, Monostat and Summer's Eve. I think many women are familiar with what they are and what they do, but they will not save you from yourself or your bad habits. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what Monostat and Summer's Eve are, these are the kinds of over-the-counter medications that many women will purchase when they are experiencing yeast infections or they're trying to get rid of vaginal odor. So let me start off by saying that all of this preventative medicine that we're being prescribed is really just masking the underlying health conditions that we should be addressing naturally. Okay. Most of the allopathic medication, the over-the-counter medication, the prescribed medication that our primary caregivers like gynecologists, our family physicians, the doctors that we go into the clinics to see, they are providing us with medication, preventative medicine that masks your condition. It doesn't actually address the problem that you're dealing with. Okay, so when you purchase your Monostat or your Canestin, or you get that prescription for Diflucan, your 2 pills of Diflucan, know that you're probably going to maintain the same habits that you have been espousing. And so the risk of the issue returning is very, very prevalent. And I get it. I understand why doctors will prescribe them. And I understand why women will take them, especially when your body isn't functioning the way that you want it to. Right? You've got recurring yeast infections, you've got recurring vaginal odor, you've got, excessive, discharges, whatever it is that you may be going through and experiencing. You may have an itch, like whatever it is, your body isn't functioning the way you want it to, and you don't feel 100% in your health. And usually if you're not feeling 100% in your health, it's probably going to affect how you're feeling about yourself and how you're feeling about your body. And when you're suffering from feminine health conditions like fibroids or PCOS or cysts or heavy cycles, and maybe even infertility, usually by the time you have gone to your doctors, especially if you've been doing this a couple of times, you've gone a few rounds of it, you're probably willing to do anything to try to make it go better, make it happen for you, right? To get changes, to get results. But the thing is that you're usually not sure what to do to get there. Okay? Outside of going to see, give thanks for the love, outside of going to see your primary caregiver, we're usually not sure of what to do to get there, even though we usually have a feeling deep in the gut that there's something more that you could be doing. So if you have had the feeling of knowing that there are options out there for you to address your reproductive health, to address your womb wellness, but you haven't found the actual tools yet, but you can feel it, you've seen it, or you just have that inclination that something can be done, but you're not sure what to do, give me a comment, leave a comment below and let me know. And especially since you've heard and you've seen all of the options, because there are a lot of leaders, influencers on social media platforms that are having conversations about what they may have done to change their vaginal pH, to reduce the pain that they're feeling during their menstrual cycle. But the thing is, you've heard of these options, but you have no idea which one can work for you, because your constitution can be very different from the next person. And oftentimes we automatically assume that taking one thing for one issue is going to deal with the problem, but that isn't always the case. And so the hope still remains that there is a solution to what you're going through, right? You may be telling yourself, I can do better than this, like this situation that I'm in, these recurring infections, these, this constant purchasing of these pills, like how many times have you douched, how many different, scents have you used, how many times have you tried to be abstinent while, hopefully you're trying to be abstinent while, the infections are clearing. Just kind of running this hamster's wheel. So you're telling yourself that you can do this, and you may have tried a few things that you've researched, right? Like drinking the teas. I mentioned in another live, red raspberry and maca root and, all these different things that we're reading online. Or maybe you've tried steaming, right? Maybe you've tried that yoni steaming, which usually involves some kind of a pot and some boiling water of some sort, praying that you don't burn your lady bits. You've probably at this point have had conversations with your doctors, with your primary caregivers about what your health is, and you've done your blood tests or taken the swabs to make sure that you don't have any STIs, that you don't have HPV, you don't have, overgrowth, proliferation of issues. Your tumors are benign, they're not, malignant. You may also be on the different forums, speaking with other women who are experiencing those same issues, right? Like who hasn't been on Reddit, who hasn't, scoured Facebook groups, reading posts and comments and responses to comments in the Facebook groups, on the Instagram lives, listening to what these different people have experienced, and hearing the wives' tales, you know what I mean, of who heard what to take what. Sometimes when I'm in some of these groups and I listen, it's like, okay, well, you're experiencing this, so, drink an egg and, take some cayenne pepper. Like, it's quite interesting, some of the different remedies that come out there. And some things I question, where are they coming from? But oftentimes they come through the echoes of, time, through, the residual stories of midwives, of what our grandmothers have done, and we remember small bits and tidbits of it, right? And so this is usually what I deduce is happening in these Facebook groups or in the Reddit groups, on the blogs and the YouTube videos. But at the end of the day, all that really happened was you found out a lot of information, but not a transformation that's specific to helping you, right? And this is a huge thing. Especially if you're the type of person who likes to collect images, from Pinterest boards, or you're constantly saving different graphics and different memes, from these influencers of like, these are the top best herbs for this issue, or these are the 5 different foods that you can take to increase your fertility, or, if you're experiencing pain, do these 3 particular movements. And so you begin collecting all of this information that you want to try, but that you may not necessarily actually do. And you may also be corroborating your experience with others, with other women, other womb carriers, other females, other people who carry wombs, to see if you finally found the right mix of experimentations, who tried what. I read some of these posts and it's like, well, I purchased this, and well, I purchased this and I didn't have any response to it. My body didn't respond very well. Or maybe you purchased it and now you can't see your menstrual cycle, so you're scared and you stopped and you spent all this money. Now, the thing is that sometimes, and oftentimes, especially when you are leaving the realm of allopathic medicine, that's prescribed, what happens as you enter into natural medicine, herbal medicine, supplements, and food, we get a lot of discouragement. You can end up being very discouraged because A, you're not consistent with what you've tried. This is a huge, huge problem that I see. Okay, I'm gonna start taking this particular herb. I'm gonna drink this tea for 1 or 2 days, maybe 1 week, and I don't see any change, and I'm going to stop. And that is so problematic because that's not how natural medicine works. And sometimes what you're trying isn't exactly what you need for your condition. How many of you have heard of red raspberry? Anytime you talk about herbs for the menstrual cycle, herbs for the womb, herbs for any kind of, womb health issue, the first herb that you hear of is red raspberry. Let me tell you something, sis. Red raspberry is not going to cure your vaginal infection, okay? Red raspberry is not going to help the PCOS that you're dealing with. And red raspberry is not going to help the insufficient ovarian issue that you're having, my words. Your low AMH levels, right? Low follicles, you're not ovulating. It's not going to help, right? Because you are using cookie cutter remedies for a very specific issue. And this is, like I see this time and time again. Why? Because we're used to it with the doctors. The doctors will give you some kind of a synthetic medicine that's going to play on the organ or the specific gland, right, overall, for the overall function of the body and suppress the functioning of that gland. And that's what's going to give you the results. And so you're thinking that I'm taking this and this is giving me results right away. So let me do the same thing with natural medicine. Everyone says that red raspberry works, right? And so I'm going to take red raspberry, but it's actually not working for you because your condition doesn't require the tonification of the uterus, because that's what red raspberry does. Red raspberry doesn't deal with, insulin resistance, and diabetes symptoms when we're dealing with PCOS. And it doesn't deal with low AMH levels, which have to do with follicle stimulating hormone and all of these different things, right? And sometimes you didn't even recognize, or you're completely unaware of the actual symptoms and the very specific symptoms that you have and how they connect to your problem, right? Because once again, you are just looking at the overall, well, I'm not feeling good and my cycle is irregular and the doctor says I have this. Okay, but there's like secondary and tertiary symptoms that we're looking at. Like even in my practitioners program, just this past week when we were having the conversation, we finally started, because I didn't start delving into, like symptoms and conditions of the womb and of the reproductive system until like the final module, because you need to really understand like your constitution, your body is unique to you. How you are made up is very unique to you. And every single thing that happens in your body, your eye is twitching, your hand is itching, you know what I mean? Like your discharge is yellow or your discharge is white. Like every single thing is very specific. How is your tongue looking? What's happening with your eyes? Like, are you waking up in the middle of the night versus are you falling asleep in the afternoon? Every single thing that is happening to your body is giving us, directions and directives as to how to move. But too often, women are disconnected from themselves. Women have absolutely no idea what's happening inside of their body until you ask them to slow down and really start paying attention with finite detail. And so if you're not able to recognize it, if you're not aware of what your symptoms are and how to connect them to the problem, how are you going to be able to really connect the proper natural remedy to the specific condition that you have? Because like I said, infertility and PCOS could be related, but what kind of PCOS do you have? You may have an irregular cycle, but why are you having an irregular cycle, right? Maybe you've overlooked what your body is telling you, because you don't really know yet how to listen to it or decipher what it's telling you. Okay, because you don't realize that your spoken vocabulary and the actual vocabulary and wisdom of the body are two completely different things, and they require different ways of being able to be cognizant of this message, right? Understanding the wisdom of the body doesn't require the same kind of observation or, presence as when you're listening to somebody speak. It's very, very different, and it includes a lot of intuitive presence. And so that requires that you get in tune with your body. And that means that you have to trust. You need to trust whatever it is that you are experiencing to be able to convey the message, to understand what is happening in your body, right? And oftentimes, because you actually don't know how to articulate what you're experiencing with your doctor. Because your doctor, remember, you're going to go in to speak to your primary caregiver, and you're going to have 15 minutes, if you have 15 minutes, right? So they're going to come in, you're going to ask them a couple of questions, and they're only going to have very specific responses for you and very specific key questions around what's happening to your body. And oftentimes, you're going to have that conversation with them and say, okay, well, I'm experiencing this and I'm experiencing this. And then you may ask them, are these two things related? And you know what? They're probably going to say no. I've had that happen to me. I have had that happen to me. Members in my self-care and feminine healing training have had that happen to them. Many of my clients have also had that happen to them, where it's like you're experiencing this and you're experiencing this, and you have a feeling that these things may be related. But when you ask your doctor, who is trained under a scientific modality, right? They're medically trained, they're medicalized, but it's very, very scientific, which is not based off of the natural, spontaneous inspiration, I'll use that word loosely, that the body is giving you. It's based off of scientific data. If your blood tests say this, if the ultrasound says this, if your basic symptoms say this, then this is what the issue is. Anything else that you're telling me about, you waking up groggy, you falling asleep at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you waking up consistently at 1 in the morning time, no, these have nothing to do with whatever it is that you're experiencing. And so if you are not aware of these things and how they relate to your body, and just period, if you're not aware of what's happening to your body, how are you going to have the conversations? Do you know that I have had moments in conversation with my doctors where I like my GP right now, man, she's great. And she's great also because I have worked years and years on my craft of understanding what's happening to my body. And now when I tell my doctor, I need to have a blood test done, I need to, do some inquiry on this, my doctor doesn't question me. She does not, my doctor says to me, you're coming to me for help and support, I'm going to respond to you immediately. Or we open up that conversation. I think that I'd like to have a conversation with a specialist, and she isn't going to brush me off. And it took me a while to get to this particular doctor, because I've had doctors who have brushed me off in the process. And I have many, many clients who I have conversations with, and they're like, well, I want to have, more inquiry done on my problem. And your doctor will say no. And then you just kind of leave it at that, because, they're the doctor, and what they say, we tend to just follow. But when you have that confidence in your body, when you know something is not right, when you can explain to them what is going on and why you think, and you can advocate for yourself, then this is very, very different. It's a different experience. And oftentimes women don't know how to articulate everything that they're experiencing with their doctor. And the thing is that sometimes the issues that you're experiencing could be psychosomatic, meaning that, it's a mind-body connection. It's the wisdom of the body that's speaking up. And sometimes it's the state of your psychological mind, right, that's influencing your physical body. I mean, in my program, I can't speak for anybody else, but I know in the work that I do, I talk a lot about this in our MAP. Even in the first phase of the program, the MAP, which is a multidimensional awareness and assessment program, MAAP, we talk about it, right? Because, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, karmically, and beyond. There's like way more layers, but I start to break this down for you so you can really start paying attention to how your emotions are influencing your health, how your thoughts are influencing your health, and when your body responds, and where you're feeling the issue or the irritation, or your shoulder or your elbow or your wrist or your hip or whatever it is that's bothering you, and how to place them all together based off of your past history, your past issues, your past traumas, and how they play into today, right? And so your doctor won't speak that language, okay? And they don't believe in this anyways, because why? Whew, they're scientific, and science has made the split between the sentient being, right? You, your spirit, who you are as a whole person, and the physical body. Okay, so honestly, we oftentimes have no idea how to use the depths of what you find online anyways, right? I know how many times, like, especially in the beginning, oh my gosh, I'd go into the stores and I'd be picking up, the medicine, and I'm reading what the medicine is. And okay, so what does it do? And it's like, well, take as prescribed. And it's like, well, what do you do? Right? Because it isn't written on the box. So you can get all of the information, right? You can scroll on Google. I have so many, especially as like a postpartum doula, I have a lot of parents who are like, well, I read on Google. I'm like, man, your baby is not, a one size fits all. And you can get all the information that you want, but that information is not going to give you the transformation that you so want, right? And it's like buying a fancy camera because you saw a photographer with one, you understand what I'm saying? But not knowing how to use all the settings to replicate gorgeous pictures, and that shit sucks, okay? That sucks. Recently, I bought a nebulizer to be able to help one of my children with her asthma. And like, it's just been sitting there because I don't know how to use it. So I have to go and do the research now and figure out how to use this thing, because everyone else, I watch the comments and the reviews and everyone's like, this thing works really, really well. And here I have it, it's like here in front of me. This is obviously not what it was I was talking about, but I don't know how to use it. Right. But like, I purchased it because I saw other people had it. And so I figured I would get it, and so you're on the right track by doing the research, you know what I mean, by making the inquiries, but you've missed a few of the very necessary ingredients. You have no idea the level of commitment or how much priority you have to put into your new practices in order to heal, to get the results that you want. This is crucial. Okay, because I said it earlier on, just in this recording here, when you are working with allopathic medicine, when you are getting your medicine from over the counter, when you go ahead and take that Tylenol, you know that within 30 minutes to an hour, that shit is gone, that pain is gone, right? When you're working with natural medicine, this is my daughter's alarm that's going off here, but when you're working with natural medicine, it's not the same thing. It doesn't happen the same way. There's a certain level of holistic implication that it's a whole effort that you have to espouse to be able to get those results that you're looking for. Okay. And it requires time. It requires time, and it requires commitment. Taking one thing in the morning time, forgetting to take it in the afternoon, and not taking it the next day, you're not going to get those results. And listen, doctors actually need to have the full story to properly diagnose you, right? We know this. You're going to have a conversation with them, and they're going to be like, well, we need to have your blood tested, we need to take an ultrasound, we need to do a urine sample, you're going to have to do a stool sample. Maybe we'll do a CT scan. Maybe you'll do an MRI. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll send you to see a specialist because, you know what I mean, they have to do a colonoscopy or a laparoscopy. Like, there's so many different ways that the doctors are going to have to check you to be able to get the diagnosis. But in order for you to tell that story, you need to be able to listen to your body and hear its truth so that you can work on healing it, okay? So often you'll find the solutions, but you don't believe in the process. This is another thing too, right? You'll find the solution. How many times, okay, I'll have conversation and it's like, well, you don't believe in the process to carry it out with full trust. Why? Because it's a completely different language. It's a completely different experience for you. And so you've never tried it before. It feels different. It tastes different. You don't like how it tastes. You don't like how you're feeling. You're not quite sure. Nothing is happening. All of these things, right? And so if we're being really real, natural medicine is also expensive, okay, compared to over the counter. We're not going to play around with this. I get a lot of people that are like, yeah, especially when it comes to my program. My program is 4 figures. My program is mid to, yeah, pretty much mid-range 4 figures. For my 6-month program, you have 12 months access to me and the content, but it's 4 figures. Why is that? As well, because the medicine is expensive. So over the problem with the medicine over the counter is that it's masking the issue, and you really should be investing in eliminating it, okay? And I've seen the difference in the prices, and I know the difference between, the results that you're going to be getting, okay? Now, if you look at the cost of CBD in the grocery store versus CBD in the actual shops, you know what I mean? Like, you have premium prices for those of you who do, like, do your little thing, like, like when you're going to get a high grade versus a low grade, the prices are different. Or the cost of Advil versus the cost of Devil's Claw. Like, you can go in and you can purchase your Tylenol for $7, $7.99. But if you're going to buy that one tincture of Devil's Claw, the tinctures, like it's like a bottle, and you have the droppers that you put into your mouth. That one bottle is $20. And the bottle is not going to last you a long time if you're taking the medicine properly. Okay. Like, example, in my program, for those who enter into my program at the VIP level, I offer them medicine, and I give you a whole package of detox medicine that's going to last you the time that we're together. I'm supplying this for you. What many people don't know and what they don't realize is like, oh, okay, she's, getting all these different things. You might see the supplements and everything there, but the tincture, even just that one bottle of 1,000 ml, 1 liter of tincture is costing over $250. One bottle of medicine is costing over $250, as opposed to what? You go to the doctor, and the doctor is going to give you a prescription for diflucan for the same issue that you're experiencing. And this is going to suppress the issue, right? It's going to dull your senses. It's going to dull the receptors of your body. It's going to numb out the experience. So you're going to say, okay, I've been cured, with the possibility of having a regression into the illness. Whereas you're paying for the herbs. The herbs we pick the herbs, we bring the herbs back, we prepare the herbs. The herbs have to sit for weeks and months on end, right? Then we have to strain the herbs. We have to combine the herbs with other herbs. And sometimes these things are very difficult to come by because it's not in season, or it's an endangered species, or nobody has it here. You have to order it out. And so we're combining the herbs together, putting them in the bottle for you, and giving you the bottle. And this is why it's costing more money, but we know that it's going to work. Let's not forget, allopathic medicine, the model is based off of natural medicine. What they do is they isolate specific compounds and they give them to you in a pill form. That's exactly what it is. So let's not get it mixed up. There is a price difference. There is a price difference, but there's also a difference in the quality. Here's the thing. Most people try to approach natural healing with a more linear mentality, like a one-size-fits-all approach, where you fix what you need, right? And you feel good with what you've done, instead of having a cyclical cause and effect approach, right? So looking at the pain and realizing that our health conditions are usually a result of many things not being done. So nice. I haven't seen you in a really long time. And so, the best way to get more attuned with your body is to reset it, okay? And start with a clear view. This is how I work. When you are making the decision to work with your body holistically, when you are in the process of creating, a new journey for yourself, a new holistic journey for yourself, you have to reset. You have to reset. I always give the experience of, I know where I'm from, You know, if you buy, example, new sheets, if you're going to buy new sheets or you buy a new bed, a new mattress for your bed, you're not going to come into the house and just put the bed there in the room and just chuck it down there and go. You're going to clean out the room. You're going to remove things. You're going to change things around. You're going to, you know, shake it up. You're going to wash this. You're going to move that. You're going to shift this and that. And then you're going to put down your bed and your new sheets. This is exactly the route that one needs to start from my perspective and my experience to really be able to reset. Okay. So if you're ready to do this, if this is something that you are interested in doing, I want to invite you to even just reach out to me. Let's have a conversation and see where you're at. You know, what is it that you need right now? What are your needs? And more specifically, what are the gaps in your health? Like, do you even know what you have? Have you had a diagnosis from the doctor? Have you had a conversation with your doctor about the symptoms that you have? Are you even aware of the symptoms that you have? What have you tried? Why hasn't it worked? You know what I mean? We're going to talk about the gaps in your health. And when you reach out to me and we have that conversation, what happens is I actually send you a wound wellness assessment. And this assessment helps us to get clear, more specifically on those gaps. And you take this assessment and you come to our call with these scores from your test. And this will help us to see, okay, well, this is where I am, and this is the direction that I want to take. And then we can have the conversation about what steps you need to take to get there. In the meanwhile, I want to invite you to join my Facebook group. You can click on the link in my bio and join my Facebook group so that we can, you know, jase, we can, you know, have more conversation to find out, you know, you can see what it is that I'm doing and how I'm animating the groups and, you know, just kind of get that kind of experiencing. So the name of the group is called Full Circle Healing. Like I said, you can click on the link in my bio, and I'll be back again to have more conversation with you about what, why, when, where, who, and how come. So I wish you all a wonderful day, afternoon, and evening, wherever you are. And that's about it. Take care. Bye-bye.